So we have to look for big solution. We cannot expect that see what everyone sees what happens right now, trying to get some concessions from the teachers union, and even if we get some concessions right now, you cannot expect that we will be getting concession in the range of hundreds of thousands of dollars per year for every year from now on. One thing is obviously there was some idea of looking at closing in one of the elementary schools, which we just built, and this will produce savings on $450,000, I believe, on our side, but it will reduce the amount of money which is given to the town by $250. And if we look that we are part of this community, we cannot only look at our piece of the pie, we have to look at the entire community, that the total savings of that will be $200,000. So now, what else is left? Now, which elementary schools do we close? Do we close Pocasset? So now we are hitting the north town of town again, am I right? And these kids will have to travel far away. Do we close Fort Barton or do we close Ranger? None of these solutions are pleasant. Okay, so now let's look at high school. Why we even talk about high school? Everyone can see this building. There was a basketball game last week, and our athletic director, Mr. Murray, was sitting in the first row with a roll of paper towels. When the players run to the court, Mr. Murray went with paper towel and wiped off the leak, the water coming from the roof. This is an old building. We can still live here for maybe a couple, 3 years, but at some point, this building will have to be replaced. Well, just to pursue that, I asked JCJ, Greg Smalley, who actually was in charge of building our elementary schools. I said, Greg, without any big amount of effort, could you tell me what would cost to build a high school like ours? And he said, well, I can do it very quickly because we have different kind of models. You can just plug it in. I will tell you approximately. Those people who are standing, could you please sit down? I'm just kidding about the numbers. Okay, I know. Well, he ran two models, one for 1,000 students and one for 800 students. The 800 is $71.5 million, and the other one is 84. So we just built 3 schools, and this was $30 million, out of which 2/3 was the responsibility of the community, and 1/3 was going to be paid by the state. Where the state stands right now, they do not make any contributions to building any schools right now. This is suspended, maybe not forever, maybe at some point things will change, and the state will pitch in to building new schools. Can we count on this? I don't know. But let's say even if the state pays 1/3, if you look at $84 million, it's $60 million which we will have to pay, so maybe a little less. So it's 3 times what we had to pay for elementary schools. So now if we will try to look at this from the perspective of the bonds, Mr. Fiore, how much would it cost per year to bond? I don't know.
A little under $6 million.
For which one? For $80 million?
Yes.
Under $6 million. 30 years. $6 million extra. What will this do to the taxes when everything else is going up? So for that particular reason, not because we find pleasure in torturing everyone and trying to say, let's close a high school, but you can understand that we are desperate. Because it's simply irresponsible, in my opinion, at least from my perspective, to say, okay, we are going to do some cuts within this particular year and hope that things will be different in the next year. No, it's almost like we have this kind of crisis in the family that we have to figure out if we can actually stay in this house or we have to move out, sell the house, and rent. And this is not trying to put on the market and sell it and say, let's forget about the high school, let's close this, but we have to look at these numbers. I don't think there's anyone at this table, including myself, who would like to see the high school go, because if high school, that's what basically defines somewhat the community. That's where the young people, with all the after-school programs, people attend sports, concerts. There are a lot of great things which are happening after school. Now, keep in mind that this might not be the picture you will see in the future, because the first thing which might go is all these after-school programs. So now you have a situation where kids go to a high school in Tiverton, and there's no after-school programs because we made these cuts. This is one potential solution. Or they go to some other community and they participate in after-school programs. These are all terrible, terrible choices. But that's what we are facing. This is not someone's idea to just let's close a high school and solve the problem. But we have to look at things which are as drastic as this.
Is this on?
Yeah.
You can hear me? Okay. I think it's very premature to talk about closing the high school. The first I heard that the high school would be unusable within the next 3 years was at our last meeting. And if in fact that's true, that in 3 to 5 years this building will be completely unusable, then I am shocked that any school committee would have approved the significant upgrades that we are still paying for to the science classrooms, the guidance wing, and the athletic field. There must have been a study done before we went to bond on those upgrades, or that would have been extremely negligent, to determine whether it was worthwhile pouring millions of additional dollars into this building. Were you on the school committee at that time, and do you know what the results of the study was as to the anticipated life of this building and why they felt it was worthwhile to make those upgrades?
No, I was not, but I can see and as I speak to the superintendent, I can see what is a common condition of this building. And certainly this is not something which we can count for 10 more years without putting any money into the place.
Yes,
for example, the heating system.
Some money, a roof or a heating system, is quite different from declaring it a total loss, no more high school. So I think this is adding a new problem to our mix. I agree that we have significant financial problems to solve this year, but I don't think it helps to add what is at this point a very hypothetical additional financial problem with the idea that in 3 years this high school will have to be completely abandoned.
Can I answer your question? I was principal at the time, and I was not part of the subcommittee that did the study of the high school because the previous superintendent did not allow Mr. Gazette and I to sit on it. But we did participate in the screening of the architects. And it was decided, and I'm not quite sure by who, that a $3.75 million bond issue would go for the new fields, the track, the science upgrades, a suite and guidance, and also what didn't get built was an art music center, primarily music, which would have gone over by where the flagpole is now. The bids came in, and this was 7 years ago. We had architects come in and tell us then the heating system was on its way out. And at the time, the heating system alone was a $3 million item.